Are you running your business on a bunch of disconnected spreadsheets and software? Or maybe you depend on a single employee for a lot of your business processes? Well, I have a story to share. A story that happened to a potential client of mine a few years ago. Their company was in a great shape, everything seemed to be working just fine, but the one seemingly small issue that they thought they could ignore turned out to a catastrophic problem. This isn't to scare you or warn, it's just a food for thought. In this video, I'll discuss why using spreadsheets is dangerous. I'll share a real story that happened to one of my prospects, and I'll give you 3 simple actionable steps you can take to protect your business right now so something similar never happens to you. I'm Jeff Tiley, and I help small and medium-sized businesses build strong client relationships through digital tools and business practices. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, otherwise you may just not see me ever again. Let's jump to the story. Now, a few years ago, I was working with a potential client. Long story short, their customer contact information was a complete mess and they were looking to fix that. It was scattered everywhere in different Excel spreadsheets and other random systems. They are distributors of electronic components like computers, monitors, printers, and all sort of parts to go with them. They sold to large and medium-sized businesses, and with the rise of cryptocurrency, they started doing a lot of business selling video cards. From the outside, it looked like business was booming. They were working hard, sending invoices, making shipments, and, closing sales. But behind the scenes, there was a big problem waiting to happen. I met with a client and we had a strategy session. We created a plan to get them on track as soon as possible. I prepared a quote to fix scattered contacts. A few days later, after I've sent the quote, client just disappeared. I have a rule. I try to contact a potential client at least 7 times. If I don't hear back, I close the deal as lost. I tried to reach them several times, but eventually I had to mark the deal as lost. Now, I have a number of different routines that I follow and that I help my customers implement. It's just not always clear where to start, so I've developed a free assessment. This is a 10-minute quiz that will help you pinpoint your biggest bottlenecks across 5 key categories: customer acquisition, sales process, client retention, technology and data, and team culture. After you complete the audit, you will get a personalized report with immediate actionable steps. It's the perfect first step to figure out exactly where you need to focus. Check the link in the description below. Circling back to the original story. After disappearing for a while, I finally reached him and he told me that they had other priorities and needed to focus on some other things first. Well, fair enough. About 6 months later, on LinkedIn, I saw that one of his employees had opened a new company. I knew this employee pretty well because our offices were pretty close at the time. We'd often run into each other at lunch, at store, or in a hallway. I decided to call the client and ask, hey, did your employee open a company just like yours, or am I mistaken? I basically used that as an excuse to reconnect. Now, his response blew me away. He told me he couldn't believe it. The employee had taken their entire client list and was bad-mouthing the company using dirty tactics to steal their clients. Since this employee had been a key salesperson, he knew everything. All client databases, all suppliers, and the entire logistical chain. He knew how the warehouse was organized and which components sold well. He even found an investor and made a large purchase of these components, creating a shortage that hurt my client's business. Not only were clients leaving, but the ones who stayed couldn't even get the parts they needed, so they were forced to buy from the former employee because he'd bought up all the stock with the help of this new partner. Now, this story isn't so much a warning as it's a reflection of what could have been done to prevent it. By the way, let me know in the comments below if you've heard similar stories. I'm curious how big of a problem this actually is. Anyway, I think we can all agree that most of us at least have one key employee, someone a lot depends on, whose departure would be a huge problem to say the least. While we trust our employees, what if something horrible happens? What could have been done to prevent such a situation? Now, let's get back to the story. The first question we need to ask: why this situation was even possible? Now, the most obvious reason is that the company was dependent on a single employee, but also it was using disconnected spreadsheets. So should you stop using Excel? No, by any means, as there is nothing wrong with the software itself. Actually, I love spreadsheets, and honestly, a lot of stuff in my own company lives there. By the way, if you also love spreadsheets, hit like to this video, it helps spread the word. Now, the problem with these files like Excel, Word, or any other files where you cannot restrict deletion is lack of control. Even if you can prevent the file from being deleted, you can't stop it from being modified. Without tracking changes, someone can just go in and completely wipe out the entire table simply by selecting all the cells and, deleting everything. This is exactly what happened to my client, or potential customer to be exact. Now, the first step you need to take is to ask yourself, do I have an employee like this? If you do, you need a plan, an emergency plan. Even if everything just seems fine and the sky is clear and, beautiful, you must not let the situation continue, and you need to solve it as quickly as possible. And the fastest, cheapest, and easiest way to do that is to create your own list of all your contacts, a backup. Create a private spreadsheet using something like Google Sheets. I know I'm suggesting another spreadsheet, but bear with me, this is a cheap fix. Think of this as an emergency solution and not a permanent one, though, often those temporary solutions tend to stay. Anyway, what I'm suggesting is basically building a private spreadsheet that only you can have access to. I will not dive into technicalities of how to do it step by step, like instruction or anything. You should audit your business and understand yourself where your key customer data is stored, if stored at all. But here are 3 things what I would do. Now, first, automate lead collection. If you're generating leads through marketing, use services like Make.com or Zapier to automatically store them in a private Google Sheet. This ensures every lead is saved in a secure, central location from the moment it's captured. Now, secondly, require contact information for invoices, because invoices are something very often used by your employees, especially in sales. Now, in your accounting or invoicing software, make the client's name, email, and phone number required fields. Most software allow you to do this. This way, every time an employee creates an invoice, they are forced to enter the contact information. You can then automatically sync this data to the same secure Google Sheet, giving you a backup of all client contact information. Now, finally, third thing, what I would do is control employees' contacts. Provide work phones to your key employees or use a service that links their personal phones to the company servers. While this is a more complex process, it allows you to automatically back up all their contacts. You can then set up an automation to transfer these contacts to your secure Google Sheets. This is an immediate, like an emergency fix. But this single spreadsheet will be a lifesaver later on when you're ready for the next step. Now, it won't stop someone from leaving and taking your contact list. It won't prevent that malicious act by any means, but what it will do is give you one crucial ability that my friend, the one we couldn't help at the time, didn't have. It gives you the power to send out a mass email and warn your clients. You can let them know an employee has left, that the new company is a scam, and that they should ignore it. While you are tied up with lawsuits, you will have at least a way to communicate directly with your entire client base. You will have phone numbers, all the emails, and you're ready to go. The electronic distributor I told you about, one of his biggest problems was that he had no single place to get all his contacts, upload them to a mailing service like MailChimp, and, send out an email the same day. A quick warning would have put that employee in a bad light and, made people think twice and helped smooth things over. The reputational damage that company suffered was huge. The owner told me they lost almost half of their revenue. I don't know if they ever recovered, but can you imagine? Someone comes to you tomorrow and takes half your business. And that's a huge blow, all because of something, so simple. Let me give you another example, which happened just last year. My accounting company, ClearTax, had this exact thing happen to them last year. A few employees left and started a competing business. The company sent an email saying it was time to submit my documents with a logo very similar to ClearTax's. I almost fell for it, but because ClearTax had my contact information and could react quickly, they sent out a warning that the other company wasn't legitimate. I was warned, so I stayed, and I'm still their client. This is a simple, proven plan. It's something you can and should do to keep your contacts safe. Now, let's go a step further and talk about systemic solution. Getting all your contacts in one place is a great first step, but now how do you solve this problem for good? You have to stop putting all your eggs in one basket. Your business shouldn't depend on a single employee and scattered spreadsheets. The only way to achieve this is by building a strong business system. Let's take sales, for example. You can have different roles for people who bring in new clients and those who service existing ones. The key is for clients to feel a connection to your company, not just a single person. You can make this happen by having multiple people interact with a client. For that to work without a hitch, you need a central database where all communications and information are stored. The system allows a new manager to pick up right where the old one left off. They can see when someone last called, what their orders were, where products were shipped, and even any personal notes about the client. I recently worked with a client who made a great point during our workshop. They work with small businesses, and sometimes the owner is the whole operation. If they decide to go on vacation, they have to close their shop for a week or two. But what about pending order? They have no way to check a note that says don't ship anything during these dates. This is where a single database, or what we call a CRM system, comes in. Now, CRM is just a piece of software, like a digital database with tables like in Excel. You can create a note field in the client's record, and every time you're about to send an invoice, you will open their file and see a red alert. Don't send invoices or ship products between those dates, for example. This is how you solve the problem systemically. It's about protecting your business, building processes, and ensuring all your valuable information is safe and accessible, no matter who's working for you. And the last crucial thing I want to talk about today is the importance of regular communications with clients. You shouldn't have to rely on an employee to connect with a client only when they need to sell them something or discuss an order. You should have some minimal, consistent communication on your own. Let them know things like, hey, we've just opened a new office, or we've got a new warehouse, or even we bought a new forklift and named it John. Or, by the way, we have a new addition to the team, someone just had a baby. You can turn those simple human moments into opportunities to build relationships at the company to client level, not just employee to client level. This is how you prevent problems that stem from having fragmented information. I'm not even talking about the issues with different versions of data floating around. That's a whole other topic. Today, we're focusing on the risks that come with this kind of scattered data. We tend to ignore these risks until a crisis hits, but they do happen, and they happen often. It's easy to think that this will never happen to me, my employees are great, but you just never know. We buy car insurance even though we don't plan on getting, into an accident. We put fire extinguishers in the building and install smoke detectors not because we want a fire, but because we know they happen. As an entrepreneur, business owner, or manager, you have to think about these things. It's your responsibility to make your business a little more secure for the future. You have to do this kind of homework. You should have a client database. You should have a system. Think about what happens when you launch a new product. How do you inform your audience if you don't have a single unified list, at least? I'm not trying to sell you CRM, though I am, obviously, but the point of this whole video is different. Stay vigilant, and while hoping for the best, prepare for the worst. Yet if you don't know where to start, make sure to check my free customer relationship strategy assessment, link in the description below. And that's all for today, folks. Let me know what you think. Do you agree or disagree? Are you still managing your business with spreadsheets and relying on a single employee for everything? On that note, make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit like to this video to help spread the word, and see you next time. Peace.